My name is Pamela, and I grew up as the youngest of three daughters. My twin sisters, Diana and Danielle, are 4 years older than me. We lived in a modest two-story house in a quiet neighborhood, but our home was rarely filled with warmth or affection. Growing up, I always felt like an afterthought in my family. Mom and Dad doted on Diana and Danielle, attending all their school events and praising their achievements. Meanwhile, my accomplishments barely received a nod. The twins inherited Mom's musical talent and Dad's athletic abilities. I was just average Pamela. My parents weren't cruel, they fed me, clothed me, and made sure I did my homework. But there was always this coldness, this distance. The twins followed their lead, treating me like some annoying roommate rather than their sister. So when my 18th birthday rolled around, I expected the usual, a store-bought cake, a gift card, and everyone going about their business by 7 p.m. I certainly didn't expect to come downstairs that morning to find the dining room decorated with streamers and balloons. "Surprise," Mom said, smiling wider than I'd seen in years. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." I stood frozen, wondering if I'd stepped into an alternate universe. "What's all this?" I asked. "It's your 18th birthday," Dad exclaimed, putting his arm around my shoulder. "Did you think we'd let it pass without a proper celebration?" The twins emerged from the kitchen, carrying a beautiful box. "Open it," Diana said. Inside was a stunning emerald green dress that looked ridiculously expensive. "Try it on," Danielle urged. "We're having a party tonight, proper party, with guests and everything." I must have looked completely baffled because Mom laughed and kissed my cheek. "Don't look so shocked, Pamela, you only turn 18 once." The rest of the day was a blur of preparations. Mom spent hours in the kitchen preparing my favorite foods. Dad cleaned the house from top to bottom. Even the twins helped, setting up a playlist and arranging furniture to create space for dancing. By evening, I was standing in my new dress, watching as family, friends, and some of my classmates filled our living room. A table in the corner was piled with wrapped presents. The twins had convinced Dad to buy alcohol, and everyone had champagne glasses ready for toasts. "I can't believe this," I whispered to myself. At 8 p.m., Dad tapped his glass and the room fell silent. "Today we celebrate our youngest daughter," he began, his voice oddly emotional. "Pamela, watching you grow into the young woman you've become has been one of life's greatest privileges. Your kindness, your perseverance, your quiet strength, these are qualities that will take you far in life. Your mother and I couldn't be prouder." Mom stepped forward next. "To our beautiful Pamela, happy 18th birthday, we love you so much, sweetheart." Even the twins made speeches. "To my little sister," Diana said, raising her glass, "sorry I borrowed your clothes without asking all those times." "And sorry we teased you about your first crush," Danielle added with a smile. "You're actually pretty cool, for a little sister." Everyone laughed and clinked glasses. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. After years of feeling invisible, here I was, the center of attention, surrounded by love and warmth. Later, Dad brought out a massive cake with 18 candles. It was decorated with tiny sugar flowers and my name written in elegant script. "Make a wish, sweetheart," Mom said as I prepared to blow out the candles. I closed my eyes. I wish this feeling could last forever. Then I blew out all 18 candles in one breath. Everyone cheered. Dad cut the cake while Mom squeezed my hand. The party continued until after midnight. My friends danced in the living room, the adults chatted in the kitchen, and I floated between groups, feeling like the luckiest girl in the world. It was as though 18 years of emotional neglect had been wiped away in a single evening. When the last guest left, I helped clean up despite Mom's insistence that I shouldn't have to on my birthday. "Today was perfect," I told my parents as we finished putting away the leftover food. "I don't know how to thank you." "You deserve it, Pamela," Dad said, kissing the top of my head. "Now get some rest, it's been a long day." I climbed the stairs to my bedroom, still wearing my beautiful new dress. As I drifted off to sleep, I couldn't help but think that maybe things were changing. Maybe turning 18 meant a new chapter in my relationship with my family. I fell asleep with a smile on my face, completely unaware that this birthday celebration wasn't the beginning of something wonderful. I woke up late the next morning, still basking in the afterglow of my perfect birthday. The house was unusually quiet, but I figured everyone was sleeping in after the party. I stretched, grabbed my phone to check messages from friends about the party, and headed to the bathroom. As I passed the twins' room, I noticed the door was open. Their beds were made, which was weird. Diana and Danielle never made their beds unless Mom nagged them for hours. "Hello?" I called out, suddenly uneasy. "Mom, Dad?" Silence. I hurried downstairs, an unpleasant feeling growing in my stomach. The kitchen was spotless, no coffee brewing, no breakfast dishes, no sign of my family. I moved through the house room by room, calling out, each step making my heart beat faster. "Mom, Dad, Diana, Danielle?" This isn't funny. When I checked my parents' bedroom, everything clicked into place. The closet doors were open, and at least half their clothes were gone. Their dresser drawers were partially empty. On Mom's vanity, the expensive perfumes and jewelry she wore daily had disappeared, they were gone. I ran back to the twins' room and yanked open their closet. Same thing, half empty. Their favorite shoes, the designer bags they'd saved for months to buy, their laptops, all gone. "No," I whispered, shaking my head, "no, no, no." Back in the kitchen, I found a folded piece of paper on the table that I'd missed in my initial panic. I recognized Mom's handwriting immediately. "Pamela, you're 18 now, officially an adult. It's time for you to make your own way in the world, just as we need to make ours. Your father and I are tired. Raising 3 girls hasn't been easy, and frankly, we've done our part. Last night's party was our parting gift to you. Don't bother looking for us. We've already sold the house. The new owners will be moving in 2 weeks from today, so you have until then to find other arrangements. Your sisters have graduated college and have good jobs, they'll be helping us, not you. We simply don't have extra money for your college education, and honestly, we've always thought you were the least promising of our children. Your father and I have decided to start fresh. We've moved abroad with the twins, so feel free to tell anyone about what we've done. We're beyond caring about local gossip at this point. Take care of yourself, Mom." I sat down hard on the kitchen floor, the letter crumpled in my fist. The beautiful birthday dress I'd hung carefully in my closet last night, the heartfelt speeches, the hugs, the cake, it was all a sick farewell performance. "Damn assholes," I screamed into the empty house, my voice echoed back at me. I crumpled to the floor and sobbed until my throat was raw. Then I started calling them all, Mom, Dad, my sisters. An emotionless automatic voice replied that such phone numbers no longer existed. Hours later, I dragged myself to my room and stared blankly at the ceiling. I needed to think, to make a plan. Who could help me? Mom and Dad had systematically cut ties with most of our relatives years ago. "They're judgmental and toxic," Mom would say whenever I asked about my grandparents or aunts and uncles. I had friends, sure, but none close enough to move in with. Mom and Dad had always discouraged sleepovers or deep friendships, now that I thought about it. They'd kept our social circle small and controlled. I was truly alone with 2 weeks to figure out my entire life. Then I remembered Uncle Robert, Dad's younger brother. Years ago, they'd had a massive fight over my grandparents' inheritance. Dad had somehow manipulated the situation and taken everything, leaving Uncle Robert with nothing. My parents had forbidden any contact with him, but when I was 15, I'd found him on social media and we'd started a secret correspondence. It wasn't much, birthday wishes, holiday greetings, occasional life updates. But it was something, a tiny connection to family outside the coldness of my immediate one. With shaking hands, I opened my laptop and sent him a message. "Uncle Robert, I don't know if you'll see this, but I'm in trouble. Mom, Dad, and the twins have abandoned me. They threw me a big 18th birthday party last night and then disappeared while I was sleeping. They left a note saying they've sold the house and moved abroad. I have 2 weeks to move out. I don't know what to do." I hit send without expecting much. He lived 3 states away and had his own family. Why would he help me when my own parents wouldn't? To my shock, he replied within an hour. Pamela, I'm so sorry. Only my brother could pull something this cruel. Reminds me of when he screwed me over 15 years ago. Don't panic. You have 2 weeks in that house, use that time to pack your belongings. My wife Sharon and I will drive up this weekend to get you. You can stay with us as long as you need. I read the message 3 times, not quite believing it. Before I could reply, the doorbell rang. A man in a crisp suit stood at the door, briefcase in hand. Hello, I'm Mark Daniels from Evergreen Realty. I'm handling the sale of this property, you must be Pamela? I nodded numbly. Great, just checking in on the timeline for vacating the property. The new owners are very eager to move in. I'll be out in a few days, I said, my voice flat. I'll call you when I'm leaving to give you the keys. He nodded briskly. Perfect, here's my card, let me know if you have any questions. After he left, I returned to my room and began sorting through my belongings. Clothes, books, mementos, what do you take when your entire life has been upended? What do you leave behind? The week crawled by, I barely ate, barely slept. I kept waiting for my parents to call, to say it was all a mistake. They never did. On Saturday morning, a blue SUV pulled into the driveway. Uncle Robert, a slightly shorter version of my dad but with kinder eyes, stepped out along with a woman I recognized from photos as Aunt Sharon. Pamela, he said, pulling me into a tight hug, we're here now. Everything's going to be okay. For the first time since finding that letter, I believed it might be true. Uncle Robert and Aunt Sharon lived in a spacious house with a wraparound porch in a small town in Pennsylvania. When we arrived after a 6-hour drive, they showed me to my room, a bright, airy space with pale blue walls and a bay window overlooking their backyard. This used to be our daughter Maya's room, Uncle Robert explained, setting down my suitcase. She moved to Italy 5 years ago after marrying an Italian chef she met in culinary school. It's beautiful, I said, trying not to cry again. I'd done enough of that. You can stay here as long as you need to, honey, Aunt Sharon said, her hand warm on my shoulder. We have plenty of room, and we'd love the company. That first night, we sat around their kitchen table eating homemade lasagna. They didn't pry about my parents, and I was grateful. Instead, they told me about their town, about Maya's restaurant in Florence, about their jobs. Uncle Robert was an accountant, Aunt Sharon a high school art teacher. I need to find work, I said during a lull in conversation. I don't want to be a burden. Your family, Pamela, not a burden, Uncle Robert said firmly. But I understand wanting to keep busy. There's a Super Save about 2 miles from here that's always hiring. The next day, I walked to Super Save and filled out an application. To my surprise, they called me that same afternoon for an interview. By the end of the week, I had a job as a warehouse stocker. The work was hard, lots of heavy lifting and long hours on my feet, but I threw myself into it. My supervisor, Dave, quickly noticed my work ethic. You're the first person who's actually organized the back stock by expiration date without me having to ask 3 times, he said one day, about 2 months after I'd started. Most kids your age are on their phones half the shift. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I settled into a routine, work, help around the house, repeat. Uncle Robert and Aunt Sharon refused to take rent money, so I saved almost everything I earned. On weekends, I helped Aunt Sharon with her garden or Uncle Robert with household repairs. They treated me like a daughter, not a charity case, and the wound of my parents' abandonment slowly began to scab over. 1 year after my parents left, Mr. Jenkins, the store director, called me into his office. Pamela, I've been watching your work, you've got potential that's being wasted in the warehouse. I shifted in my seat. Thank you, sir. Have you considered college? He asked bluntly. I looked down at my hands. I can't afford it. What about community college courses? Management certification? Something to get you on a different track. Warehouse work is fine, but you shouldn't do it forever. That evening, I discussed it with Uncle Robert and Aunt Sharon over dinner. He's right, Uncle Robert said, you should get some education. But the cost? We can help, Aunt Sharon interrupted. We've been saving for years for Maya's graduate school, but she got a scholarship. That money's just sitting there. I can't take your money, I protested. Consider it a loan, then, Uncle Robert suggested. Pay us back when you're a millionaire CEO. They laughed, but I could tell they were serious about helping me. The next week, I enrolled in management courses at the local community college. For a year, I worked during the day and studied at night. It was exhausting but exhilarating to be learning again. After completing the certification program, Mr. Jenkins promoted me to floor supervisor, then to assistant manager 6 months later. My salary nearly doubled. Emboldened by this success, I decided to pursue a bachelor's degree in business administration through an accelerated online program. It would take me 2 more years of intense work, but I was determined. Those 2 years were a blur of work, study, and occasional sleep, but I did it. I graduated with honors at 23, and within a month, I was promoted again, this time to regional management for the SuperSave chain, overseeing operations for 12 stores. I'm so proud of you, Aunt Sharon said at my small graduation celebration. You've overcome so much. Because of you too, I said, hugging them both. I wouldn't be here without you. Around this time, I met Jason at a regional managers conference. He was 28, worked for a supply chain company that partnered with SuperSave, and had the most infectious laugh I'd ever heard. We started dating a month later. Jason came from money. His family owned a successful construction business, but he'd insisted on building his own career. I admired that about him. He didn't judge me for my past either, when I finally shared it. 2 years of dating flew by. On my 26th birthday, Jason proposed during a hike to a waterfall we both loved. I said yes immediately. We planned a small wedding for that fall. Uncle Robert would walk me down the aisle. Aunt Sharon would be my matron of honor. And Maya was flying in from Italy with her husband and their new baby. I can't believe we've never met in person, Maya said when she video called to confirm her travel dates. Mom and Dad have told me so much about you. I laughed. All good things, I hope. The best, she assured me. They say you're the daughter they always wanted. A month before the wedding, Maya called again, her voice oddly tense. Pamela, something weird happened yesterday. I was at a local cafe with some friends, and they introduced me to a couple who moved here from America. Okay, I wasn't sure where this was going. The man, he looked exactly like my dad, like, eerily similar. When they said his last name, I nearly fell off my chair. It's Thompson. I think they're your parents, Pam. They're living here in Florence. The room started spinning. Are you sure? Almost positive. I didn't let on that I might know them, but I did some digging. They took out a huge loan a few years ago to start an import business here. It's failing spectacularly. The bank is foreclosing on their house next month. I gripped the phone tighter, a strange mixture of emotions washing over me. Shock, anger, and then, slowly, something like satisfaction. They're losing everything? I asked. Pretty much, Maya confirmed. What do you want to do? I took a deep breath, an idea forming. I need to talk to Jason. Jason listened as I explained Maya's discovery, his expression growing increasingly incredulous. Let me get this straight, he said when I finished. Your parents, who abandoned you on your 18th birthday and told you they never wanted to see you again, are now losing their house in Italy? I nodded, a plan already forming. Jason, you mentioned wanting to buy property in Europe. His eyes widened as he caught on. You want to buy their house? The one they're being foreclosed on? Exactly, a strange calm had settled over me. Maya can help arrange it. She's married to an Italian, knows the language, has contacts there. Jason studied me for a moment, then smiled. I'm in, let's do it. I called Maya back immediately. Can you look into buying their house? Without them knowing it's me? Already thought of that, she replied. I'm married to Giovanni Rossi now. Different last name than Dad, they won't connect us. Over the next few weeks, as we finalized wedding preparations, Maya worked with local realtors. The bank was eager to sell, and with Jason's resources, we made a compelling offer. 3 days before our wedding, we got the news: the house was ours. Our wedding was perfect, simple, intimate, surrounded by people who truly loved me. As Jason and I exchanged vows, I felt nothing but gratitude for the path that had led me here, despite its painful beginnings. 2 weeks after the honeymoon, Jason and I flew to Italy. I was 4 months pregnant by then, just starting to show. Maya met us at the airport, embracing me like the cousin she'd become in spirit if not in blood. "They don't know you're coming," she warned as we drove to the house, my house now. I told them the new owners wanted to meet them to discuss the move-out timeline. "Perfect," I said, one hand resting on my slightly swollen belly. The house was a lovely Tuscan-style villa with terracotta roof tiles and a garden full of olive trees. Under different circumstances, I might have admired its beauty. Today, I was focused on only one thing. Maya knocked on the door. A woman answered, my mother. 8 years had aged her considerably. Her once dark hair was streaked with gray, and deep lines framed her mouth. "Maya, thank you for coming, and these must be the new." She froze mid-sentence, her eyes widening in shock as she recognized me. "Pamela?" "Hello, Mother," I said coolly, surprise. She stumbled backward. Richard, come quickly." My father appeared behind her, also looking older and worn. He stared at me in disbelief. "What is this? What are you doing here?" "Maya, would you do the honors?" I asked, ignoring him. Maya stepped forward. "All business, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. I'd like to formally introduce you to the new owners of this property, Pamela and Jason Miller." My mother's face crumpled. "You bought our house?" "Your house?" I laughed. "No, Mom, it's my house now." My father grabbed my mother's arm as she swayed. "Pamela, please, you can't do this to us, we're your parents." "Parents?" I repeated, the word tasting bitter. "Funny, I remember you saying I was an extra ballast and hopeless. That you were tired of raising me. That you wanted to start life with a clean slate without me in it." "We were wrong," my mother sobbed, reaching for me. "We missed you so much, baby. We regretted it almost immediately." "But not enough to come find me," I observed, "not enough to apologize." "Where are Diana and Danielle?" I asked suddenly. "Shouldn't your precious twins be helping you through this difficult time?" My father's face darkened. "We don't speak to them anymore. We had a falling out. Diana moved back to the States, and Danielle is somewhere in Europe, we're not sure where." "How convenient for you to need me now that they're gone," I said. My mother fell to her knees, grabbing the hem of my dress. "Please, Pamela, we can make it up to you. We'll look after this house for you. Clean it, maintain it. We'll help raise your baby." I looked down at her, at the pathetic spectacle she'd become, and felt nothing but pity mixed with disgust. "Help raise my child?" I laughed. "I've studied your parenting methods extensively, and I think I'll pass." I turned to Maya. "The contract gives them how many days to vacate?" 7 to 30 days, at the new owner's discretion," she replied promptly. I looked back at my parents. "You have exactly 7 days, not 1 day more." "But where will we go?" my father demanded, his old arrogance briefly resurfacing. "Not my problem," I replied, "figure it out." 1 week later, Jason and I set up deck chairs on the front lawn with a cooler of drinks between us. We watched as my parents loaded their meager belongings into a small rental truck, casting venomous glances our way. "You'll regret this," my father muttered as he passed us. "I doubt it," I replied, sipping my virgin mojito. "Enjoy your fresh start." When they were gone, Jason squeezed my hand. "How do you feel?" I considered the question carefully. "Calm, lighter. Like I've finally put down a heavy weight I've been carrying for years." We walked through our new house, my house, together. It would need some renovations before the baby came, but it had good bones. As I stood in what would become the nursery, looking out over the Tuscan landscape, I felt at peace for the first time since that birthday night 8 years ago. Later that evening, I video called Uncle Robert and Aunt Sharon to show them the house. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Aunt Sharon said, you deserve it. We're so proud of you, Uncle Robert added. Not for the revenge, though I can't say I blame you, but for everything you've built for yourself despite them. I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. I couldn't have done it without you too, you're my real family. Always, they replied in unison. As for my birth family? My mother and father disappeared from Florence the day they moved out. I never saw or heard from them again. My sisters remain strangers to me. Occasionally, I wonder what became of them, but the curiosity is mild, academic. My true family is the one I built, Uncle Robert and Aunt Sharon, who gave me a home when I had none, Maya and her husband, who visit us in Florence every summer, Jason, who loves me without reservation, our children, who will never know what it feels like to be abandoned or unloved. And me, no longer that shocked, heartbroken 18-year-old, but a woman who learned that family isn't always blood, that strength often comes from unexpected places, and that sometimes, justice arrives in its own perfect time.